Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, welcome to another Sister Shanice show. As you can see, I am absolutely honored to have in the studio today none other than Reverend Dr. Rev Shock Matthews. Woo! Absolutely awesome.
The crowd goes wild.
Hey! Family, you are in for a big treat today. Now, I don't know how many of my followers, how many of my listeners and my regular viewers are familiar with the works of Dr. Rev Shock, but if you're not, wow, hold on to your seats. Strap yourself to your seats. He's going to be dropping some heavy learning, some powerful educational stuff today, family. Wow, wow, wow. So spread the word. Let everyone know that we are now live. If you're tuning in for the first time even to the Sister Shanice show, please do. Hit the like button, please do subscribe. You know, I want to grow this platform so that more members of our community can hear from these wonderful guests, you know, that I get the privilege of providing a platform for, so that we take responsibility for our own learning. So we are the ones in the driving seat that is coming with our narrative about our story, our history, and what we've got to talk about. So, you know, we all don't know the mainstream education system doesn't cater for us as a people. We're the ones who have got to develop our own curriculums, our own modes of learning. And with online technology, wow, first time, if we wanted to hear from Dr. Rev Shock, we would have had to fly him into the UKKK. But now because of online technology, yeah, we can just beam him in. And so we beamed him in and he heard the call, he's responded to the call. We are so grateful. How are you today, Reverend Philip?
I am wonderful, my beloved goddess. How are you?
I'm very well, very
Hotep
well.
to the family, Hotep to the family out there.
Yes,
it's good to be here.
And it's an honor to have you in our presence as well. Wow, 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 family. We're going to be talking about racialized domestic terror. Racialized domestic terror and the impact of second frequency psychopathic behavior on us as a people. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be deep. But if you stay tuned for the ride, you are going to come away with a level of knowledge and a level of understanding and a whole new dictionary as well, a whole new vocabulary after this session today. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be looking at the impact of second frequency psychopathic behavior on us as African people. It's some serious teaching, And, you know, whilst we wait for the family members to come through the door, I just want to greet again, you know, our special guest for this session, Dr. Reverend Shock Matthews, who's known as the metaphysical Morpheus. Can I just ask you, metaphysical Morpheus, how did you get that name?
The community, the community members started calling me that because I did an interview with Sophia Stewart, the mother of the Matrix, and as a result of that, because I've been in metaphysics since I was 10 years old. So metaphysics and Morpheus, the one that was able to transition and transform people, enlighten people, take people to their inner Neo, their inner God. So it just became a thing. I ended up trademarking it, actually.
It's, you know, I've never come across the term before. Really, really interesting term. And you are the founding minister at First Frequency of Oneness. And I've watched some of your shows before, and you have a way of opening, don't you? You like to get us to, you know, just acknowledge that we're First Frequency people. So please do, you know, take us through your opening mantra.
I would be honored to do so. So, family, we are, as Africans, as foundational people, we are the first people that when Amma, which is the Dogonic corrected name for God, we don't use the word God, we're trying to move away from that, we're using our authentic language. When Amma decided to create the perfect human that could handle any level of nature, the African was born. And so we are the first of the first, and we're the best of the best. And we have everything in us to be able to handle whatever is thrown at us, which is why we are first in frequency and vibration. So with that, we simply say, and we repeat, I am one with first frequency.
I am one with first frequency.
I am one with the first thought, idea.
I am one with the first thought, idea.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the only one.
I am one with the only one. Wow.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
Oh, yeah. Phenomenal, phenomenal. That's powerful, you know, because as I'm saying it, you know, it's just giving me that thought. It's making me recognize, you know, as you said, you know, I'm one with the original, with the source, with the creator.
That's correct. That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
Wow, wow, wow.
That's one of and part of the psychological or psychopathic, I should say, behavior of second frequency is to make us forget that we were first, that we're the closest to God because we are God. We are Amma in expression. When I refer to you as a goddess, I'm not doing that to be nice to you. I'm just calling you by your first name. Right. I'm acknowledging you. When we say I see you, I see Amma, I see you, I see the first people, I see the firstborn, I see the first chosen, I see the first gestation, I see the first thought, the idea of what Amma, the love that Amma has for us to duplicate and replicate us in form, to make us the African, the first on the planet to be able to master all of nature, master all of science, and master the heavens and the earth, as above, so below. We are it. We are the archetype of the universe. We are the DNA of the universe. Everything else comes second. Hence, second frequency. Nothing's wrong with us. Something happened to us. Second frequency happened to us. Nature happened to them.
Wow, wow, wow. So we are first frequency of oneness. We're at one with science, the manifestation, and prosperity. Now, Dr. Philip Shock, you are a social entrepreneur, and you have massed up over 7 million views on YouTube. Oh my gosh, how long did it take you to do that? Hey.
I should have more because of but I'm being targeted. We only have 57,000 subscribers. It should be in the hundreds of thousands over the years of work. I'm an SEO guy, I'm an internet marketing guy, so I know the algorithms and how they work. And when you're targeted they only target you if you're spitting out truth. And now if I came on and I was, pardon my French, if I was doing the B and the H's and the N words, this, that, and the, I would have millions and millions of views. But the truth is very painful even to the internet algorithms. Second frequency AI is everywhere. But yeah, I've been in this game for a long time. I've been a researcher and studying this work for a long time. And I've just grown over the years, and the last 10 years has just been absolutely amazing.
You're doing amazing work. You really are. I've been looking at some of your works, and family, you're going to have to check out, you know, our guest's website, www.metaphysicalmorpheus.com. Metaphysical.
Well, our latest website is firstfrequency.com. So I think you haven't updated the bio that you're reading. I forgot to update that, but you can go to metaphysical.morpheus.com as well. That goes to my page on Shock Metaphysics, on my story and my journey. But firstfrequency.com just came up 3 weeks ago. Shout out to Samara, who's also in the UK. She's our web person, and she did an amazing job.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
And that's the number one ST frequency. So number one ST frequency.com.
Yes. Okay. So make sure you get that, family. We'll be repeating it. So that's the first, that's the number one, and ST for first, frequency, metaphysical.com. Okay. And you're also a metaphysical trainer. Well, what is a metaphysical trainer? Some of us may be asking. Something you've been doing for over 35 years now, so I'm sure it has a personality in itself. I wonder if you could just give us an indication as to what a metaphysical trainer does.
Well, I was introduced to the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman when I was 10 years old, out of Chicago. She's probably one of the most noted and famous African American metaphysician, female metaphysicians that ever existed. She was such a juggernaut. She created, during the Jim Crow era, she did something that was almost seemingly impossible, which is also again a fortification that only a God could go through what we've gone through and come out with a level of success that is measured. Dr. Coleman, now I was 10 years old when I met her. I'm 56, so I've actually been 45, 46 years that I've been in introduced to metaphysics. But she produced more Black millionaires in the Chicago area than any other religion, not even a religion, but any non-denominational movement in history. Wow. Right. And so I learned how to think. I learned how to move and manipulate matter from working with and being tutored by all of the ministers, Reverend Dr. Barbara King, Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin, Reverend Dr. Helen Carey, all of the ministers of Christ Universal Temple, CUT, shout out to the family. These were times that literally set me up, unbeknownst to me, to affect and change the world. It gave me a way of thinking. Now, interestingly enough, of course, metaphysics is a European concept. It was created by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore in the 1800s. So if you look at metaphysics, however, and I remember talking to Professor James Smalls, and he says, I don't like the term metaphysics. I prefer African sacred science. And I said, well, excuse me, Professor James Smalls, I like that better too. So African sacred science is really metaphysics. Everything comes from us. See, this is the thing we have to, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're using a language that's not ours. We're using a language that's harmful to us. Every time we speak it, it's actually harming us. But we don't understand the concept of first. We think that maybe first came in different phases and stages. No, it can't be phases and stages if it's first. First means first. So that means everything that we do that comes through a European or second frequency lens, we have to Africanize it. So metaphysics is African sacred science. It's Jehuti. It's the study of Jehuti. It's the study of the laws of the universe. And when you learn how when one of my experts and researchers that's part of the ministry is Ron Spears. I'll be with him tonight in a webinar. He came up with this concept. As a physicist, he went to Morehouse. He came up with this concept called Black Matter Lives versus Black Lives Matter. Because it's powerful. Why? Because we are the original Black matter. We're the only matter that matters. We're the first matter. And as a result of being the first matter, coming from dark energy, before you can have light, darkness, dark matter, dark energy must exist first. How is it that we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator? Is because in order to be made in the image and likeness of Creator and have melanin, you have to have carbon. Carbon is Black. So we are Black people inherently. We can call it African, we can call it whatever. And I know some people, I may be Black, whatever, that's fine. But we come from carbon. Carbon is Black. We're made in the image and likeness of this most loving allness of an entity. So as a result of that, this is what we have to learn how to do, is Africanize it, go back to come forward, put that Sankofa stank on it, and understand how to do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I just switched on the recording. I forgot to start it.
I just saw that. I was like, okay. I thought it was on YouTube. I was like, okay, everybody's y'all got some pro bono stuff that nobody else in the world else has. Now this is your recording.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad I gave all of the good stuff away earlier.
Oh,
I didn't want everybody to know how to get rid of white people. I'm so glad that didn't get recorded, Okay, so now I could just be, I can lie for the rest of the show. No, I'm kidding.
The power of blackness, the power of darkness.
Yes.
From a metaphysical perspective, you were just, in full flow of that. Well, my apologies, the recording.
Oh, no problem. It's in me. I'm not going to forget it. I'm black. I'm an Amma in expression.
Yeah.
So
and you're obviously someone who's proud to be black, because blackness has been racialized to the point where the reality is that a lot of our people are ashamed of their skin.
That's correct.
They're ashamed of their pigmentation. They're ashamed of blackness and our culture and our heritage and everything. And, they're bleaching and doing all sorts of things. Little children we were hearing about in the last show, it was in my radio show, where the man who started Black History Month gave us the story about why he started Black History Month in the UK. And it happened because a work colleague of his was in work and she was crying. And like, what's the matter with you? Her 6-year-old son said to her that he wished he was white. He said then he knew he needed to do something. And so our children as young as 6 years old are somehow, so affected by the racialized curriculum, the media, and the influences that are in a non-African country, that they have no pride in who they are. And so your work is so important. All of what you just said there about the blackness in the universe, the melanin, the carbon.
And this, you're absolutely on point, my beloved goddess, because what I'm telling you is not for self-esteem. What I'm telling you is science. This is not, I don't care how you feel. I care that you feel, but I don't care. I'm not trying to make you feel good. I'm trying to restore your rightful place in the universe, not just the world. First means first, and you have to understand what that means. The greatest day in the Amu's life is defeating us. We have and always will be and are currently their biggest enemy and biggest foe. That's the biggest accomplishment they ever had. They haven't created anything. We created everything. They took it and just like back in the 80s, there was this commercial, this company. I'm showing my age about cassette tapes, but there was these cassette tapes called BASF. And the commercial was, well, we don't make cassette tapes. We just make cassette tapes and other things better. That's what Amu does. They're copycats and appropriation because they don't have a history. They're not first frequency. They don't have the same relationship with Amma, which is why they had to create God and Jesus and what we call the white boy and the stick and the white boy, and they had to create this narrative because they don't exist. They, when you're recessively genetic, I was just having a conversation with Dr. Clyde Winters earlier. Recessive genetics is something that we heard from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who was so far ahead of her time. Oh my goodness, that sister is the bomb. I love me some Frances Cress Welsing. So when she talks about the concept of recessive genetics, it means that something is dying, it's dead, right? This is a dead people, a dead culture. I was talking to, shout out to Dr. Cheryl Morrow, who's the daughter of Willie Morrow, who created the S-curl. And she's a trichologist, a doctor of hair. She confirms, and I'll have, we're going to have this more of this, but she confirmed again, yet more first frequency, the black hair follicle is the original archetype that can create all of, just as the black mother goddess can create all ethnicities, the black hair follicle is the archetype follicle because it's the one it's a round cell, not flat. Flat cell is dead, round cell is alive. And it also fits in the circular movement of the cosmos. If you knew, see, this is the thing, if you knew who you were, it takes literally billions and billions of dollars to keep a population of people oppressed, suppressed, and depressed. And they've done a great job. I just happen to be one of many who is a counter to their narrative. I am going to tell and teach our history. I'm going to tell it and teach it at a spiritual level. I'm going to tell it and teach it at a sociological level. I'm going to tell it and teach it at an archaeological level, at an anthropological level, at a metaphysical level, at the memetics, axiology, whatever the science is. Because we know we created it, that's how I'm going to teach it to you. You're going to learn that you are the best of the best and have always been. That's why you're the target. So if you want to be white, that's the unfortunate thing, because that's the dying race. They're dying off. Amma has been trying to kill them since the beginning. Nature, God doesn't make mistakes, or Amma doesn't make mistakes, but nature always makes corrections, right? And so if something goes into a cave and stays in there hundreds of thousands of years, temperatures of 200 to 400 below zero, you lose not just your pigment, you lose not just your skin tone, your hair gets woolly and bushy, you lose cognition. When we went into that region and got trapped in the ice, we devolved. When you look at a recessively genetic person, that's a devolved creature. That's a devolved species. The problem is, and this goes into Dr. Edwin Nichols' work, who I spoke to yesterday. Just love that. I just love that dude. He's 90 years old. He's like a grandfather to us. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he's just the best. Dr. Nichols created the 55 plus year now framework called the Philosophical Aspects of Cultural Differences. And he is the foremost academician on the science of axiology, which is the study of human values. Particularly, he mapped out Africans are people to people because we didn't have any opposition. We didn't have trauma, right? There was a consciousness before conflict, which is one of the first histories that I teach and talk about in the ministry. There's 4 histories. The first history is us. We had no conflict, and so we were able to think. We were able to ask the what if questions. We were able to find Amma and connect with Amma. We were able to go into the stars and see constellations that couldn't be seen without a telescope in the European world thousands and thousands of years later. Of course, I'm talking about the Dogon, the greatest astrophysicist ever. My digression. I told you I filibuster a lot, so you got to pull me back in. But Dr. Nichols teaches us about the axiology of the African. We're people to people, person to person. We love each other. We share. That's who we are. However, when you're coming from the cave and you're in second frequency lifestyle, you're about acquisition because you didn't have food. This is where cannibalism came from. They were the first to eat each other. They ate their young and their elderly, and even their unruly. They were known as lawless. There's a technology known as spiritual development theory. In spiritual development theory, there are 4 levels. The first level is lawlessness. The second is faithful. The third is a non-believer, and the fourth is a mystic. Well, we're mystics because we make known the unknown. We manage to level as above and so below and create a science, a spiritual science we call Ma'at. They didn't have that. When you're devolving because the cold and nature and there's no sun is always trying to kill you, you devolve. Your idea of the divine becomes anthropomorphic. You start to put human characteristics and traits on your deity. God is evil and wrathful. No, you are evil and wrathful. That's not what Amma is, but because you're in nature that's trying to kill you in the ice age, where you have to eat your young, you have to survive. This is where Dr. Edwin Nichols talks about the axiology of person to the object, right? So they are person to the object. They're not people to people. They even kill each other. Look at what they're doing to Russia and Ukraine or whatever. This is this is the psychopathy. When you devolve, you have to, it's about resources. And so when they came out of the cave, oh, that's the second history. When they came out of the caves, the making of the Amu, as they're known linguistically, they wreaked havoc. But we let them in. We helped them because we're people to people, person to person. We thought they were us. We felt sorry for them. Some of us, I know some people still do, I don't. But at the time, imagine this was the first time that you ever saw an Amu, a species that was not you, but looked like you. Imagine looking at an anti-African, imagine looking at, back in that time, you're living in a pyramid society, a civilized society. You're living in architecture and astronomy and technology. And you see this ghastly, pink, hairy, furry creature emerging that has no language, because as the part of the devolvement of being in the ice, they lost language. So they lost language. They didn't have a spiritual system. Hence the term, shake out the jokes, civilization, civilized versus barbarism or barbaric. So we're looking at this intersection. We're looking at this, what I call a signal interruption, right? We interrupt today's programming to give you breaking news, right? Signal interruption. So our frequency was interrupted as a result of the Amu emerging from the caves. We bathed them, we taught them, we had mastered alcohol. We used alcohol to cleanse ourselves. We taught them how to. Now, if you take the third history, the Dark Ages and Middle Ages, look at this. They took alcohol and created alcoholism. There were no alcoholics in ancient Africa in the first history. They did that. There were no venereal diseases in Africa. They did that. You have to understand what happens when you devolve. Your immune system is weak, and so you're sick. We're not sick people. We're sick from being captured, controlled, and corralled by sick people. When they came here, of course, the 2 million Native Americans died, not because of being scalped. They got syphilis. They died from venereal diseases because rape was their form of war. So they would go into a country and they would rape the women and the children and the men to subdue them. This is the culture. And so you can see my job is to walk you through the history, walk you through the timeline. Ain't nothing wrong with Black people, but something happened to Black people. And it's my job to tell you exactly what that is, how it happened, why it happened, and what we can do about it to restore ourselves back to that original signal that was interrupted. That is their biggest fear.
Wow, wow, wow. Nothing wrong with us. Something happened to us. Yes, the Neanderthals came out the caves, and instead of us getting rid of them, what we tried to instill some humanity into them. And
that's it. We're the original humans. We're the only humans.
We are the only humans, indeed. Yes. And our humanity, as we've seen throughout our history, as you said, has been our downfall. And as you know, the original people of Europe were Africans.
That's
they
correct.
were wiped out by those descendants of the Neanderthals, the original people of China, the original people of India, the original people of Australia, the original people of the Americas, the original people of the Caribbean. These second frequency people have been systematically wiping us off of the face of the earth for millenniums, and it continues until
well, they can't. This is the dilemma, my beloved. They can't kill us all. They've tried, but it ends up killing them. You can't kill God. You can't kill the original source. You can't kill the original frequency. I remember I used to sit up and watch. What was that show with Kerry Washington? That my queen always, because it was a female.
Maybe someone
show.
In the chat can help.
What was it? It was Kerry Washington, and she played this lawyer, and her father was head of this thing called command, and he would always use this quote. It's like, you can't kill command, and so you can't kill command. We command. We are the original archetype of humanity. You kill us, everybody's gone. Now, here's the thing: when you're dealing with the psychopathic people, they will kill everything, including themselves. So your job, my job, our job as Black people is to get our act together and get as far away from them as possible, develop our own economic power, and separate. Segregation, yes, separate. When a species is dying out, I always use this joke. It's not really a joke, but it's a joke. I put it in humorous terms because this is heavy stuff that we're dealing with. When you were a little girl or a little boy, your mom said probably, or dad said to you, somebody, if Joey drives his bike off the cliff, you're gonna drive your bike off the cliff with him, right? Well, here's the problem. We ain't got a bike no more. We on Joey's handlebars. So wherever the hell Joey goes, that's where we're going, and we're going face first. So we got to get off the goddamn handlebars of second frequency. And unfortunately, there's using the term that one of our scholars always says, is about 3 out of 100. So a lot of us ain't gonna make it that look like us, because when you have been successfully assimilated, domesticated, and you are trauma bonded, Stockholm syndrome, capture bonded to your oppressor, you die. You don't get out. You don't get a second chance. You just die with them. But we ain't going out like that. Okay, I'm not going. I'm going as first frequency. I'm dying as a pharaoh. You understand what I'm saying? As a per-ah. That's how I'm going out. And all of our people need to understand who we are. What happens when they die off? We have to be ready to be able to run a country, to build a country and rebuild Ma'at, to rebuild civilization in the archetype, in its original frequency. But if we don't understand this, and this, all they do is signal interruption. More white men are marrying and having sex with Black women around the world because they realize, oh God, we're dying off. There's no hope for us to be able to get our numbers back up. It's known as the birth dearth. So how do we stay relevant? Okay, impregnate as many Black women as you possibly can and have as many children as you can, because those babies are going to still be in alignment with whiteness, even though they have Africana in them and their original frequency is Africana. Who's going to come to that child's rescue and say your frequency is Africana, not Amu? Now you got to look in, well, between mom and dad. Do I hate my mom? I hate my dad. What do I do? This is how the species survives. It's known as divide and conquer, right? So this is the species, but they're dying off. Eventually, that group will also die off, and everything then will start to be restored back to its original frequency as Amma put it down before. Because remember, Goddess, we're only, at least in this continent, we're only talking about 500 years. We ruled, and our kingdoms were thousands of years, thousands, plural. Dr. Marie Charles out of the United Kingdom, shout out Goddess if you're watching, one of our top researchers in the United Kingdom, who has uncovered what we call FBB, Foundational Black Britons, in the Dogon, founded Ireland and whatnot. She's just badass. I love her so. But anyway, I digress. But Dr. Charles teaches us about this process that when you don't know who you are, we only had one culture. There was only one culture. There was no, like right now, everybody's like, well, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Oh, yeah, I'm a Yakabor. Well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a Muslim. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. I swear to God, nobody cares, because there's one culture, one mind. One culture, one mind, one people. That is us. And so their job is to divide and conquer that. And this is Dr. Clyde Winter's words, when you are not able to differentiate between ancestry and heritage, you're going to always lose and you're always going to be a slave. And in fact, you're going to be a complicit slave. And in fact, you're going to help us enslave you and your people better because you're going to be the progenitor of that slavery by locking your own people up and harming your own people because you just want to be a Yakamor. You don't want to be a black person. You don't like the term black. You just want to, I don't want to be an ancestor. I don't want to be African. I want to be these heritages. Well, that's why they can come in and divide and conquer you, because all I have to do in an argument is put the Hebrew against the Yakamor against the Muslim against the Christian, and then I can just come in there and just have a god dang field day, taking all your money, all your resources, raping all your women and children, and live a wonderful life while y'all sitting up infighting, right? Because you don't know your ancestry and you don't know who you are. And there's nothing wrong with having heritage. There's nothing wrong with having ideology. But know who the hell you are. Know that you are first frequency first, and that anything that comes in to threaten any of these aspects of us is a threat to all. But no, we sit up and say, "Oh, that's that Negro's problem over there. I don't know him. He on the other side of the country. I don't know. I never been to Thailand. Ain't no black people in Thailand. What about we just get stupid. We get stupid, and so at some point we're complicit in our own demise. So some of the stuff that we're experiencing, we're supposed to, because if you're stupid and dumb and you don't know who you are, you're ignorant. Ignorant is always going to lose. This is why you're so important. This is why your work is so important, Goddess Shanice, because you're putting information out to restore the frequency, the signal interruption. How many times have you heard the story about the Vietnamese War that I think it was 2 years, soldiers were trapped in the war, or they thought that the war was still going on, but it was 2 years old. They didn't know. They were literally in the jungle, still killing and fighting, raping and maiming. And it's like, yeah, dude, the war is, that was 2 years ago. So the war is over, son. I had no idea. This is what's happening to us. We have no idea. We've already won this war. We just have to know that we're first frequency. If we have gone through, and we are the Christ. We are the Christ consciousness. We went through the crucifixion for 500 years. We are now going through our resurrection. Another term for it is Renaissance. But this is our resurrection. We are the gods. We are the goddesses. We are the Amas of this earth. We are the guardians, the first guardians of this earth. We are the guardians and the gateway to above. That's us. So we had to go through hell to really, really appreciate heaven, because we didn't have anything we never had trauma installed in us. We weren't afraid of lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, we mastered nature. We had mastered all of the little spiders that might kill you, or the frog that if you touch it and lick your face, we figured all of that out. Where was the trauma? What were we afraid of? Nothing. The human comes only with two fears inherent: the fear of falling, the fear of a loud sound. All of the fears are taught and learned. Poverty is a learned behavior. Colorism is a learned behavior. Hating your people, being third frequency, is a learned behavior. Becoming fourth frequency, becoming that nigga or thug out here in the streets, is a learned behavior. We are socially engineered. We have been socially engineered and manufactured to fit into a narrative where they can survive, because in a fair fight, in a fair world, in a first frequency world, they cannot exist, because they cannot compete equally, because they are recessively genetic, because they are a weaker species. Anything that is weaker naturally is going to be what? More violent. That's the only way they can survive. It's like the little kid that gets bullied. He's the little dude, so he's got to go in there and chop it up. Otherwise, he's going to get his ass kicked throughout his entire life, right? So you've got to be violent. You've got to use violence. There's no other way. And as a result of that violence, along with the psychopathy of the ice, along with the person to the object in terms of axiology, we're dealing with a species that even Amma does not want here.
Wow, wow, wow. I've got so many questions I'd love to ask, but you know what? I haven't even acknowledged our audiences yet and put in their comments. So let me go over to the chat and do that. Thank you for all of that, Rev. Oh my gosh. So, you know, I was even seeing some comments. How long we got to wait before they, before they go?
That's a good question. But we're not going to do to them what they did to us. Amma is doing it. COVID is killing them, not us. Nature always sends plagues and things to kill them off and diminish their numbers. Amma's always been trying to correct nature. Always.
All right. Hence why we're at one with nature and got to be at one with nature. We need to protect nature, don't we? Nature's our friend. Okay, let's go over to the chat. I just want to welcome each and every one of you. If you've just joined us, we have the privilege and honor of having as a guest Dr. Reverend Philip Shock Matthews. Wow, 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 the metaphysical morphosis. And he's just been giving us a whole new sort of way of thinking, you know, all new concepts and ideologies, and it's just phenomenal. It really is. So let's go into the chat and take a look at some of your comments.
I'm scared.
Jack 51.
Oh, no comments. Oh,
you'll be so lucky there's loads. So yeah, you got some. And Tag 5104 is saying, preach. It is those learned behaviors that are hindering our unity stroke oneness. Richmond rises itself up and saying, the melanin wave going to clean all the lands all over again. Okay, yes.
Fantastic.
That's what we'll have to do. Blue Zodiac is saying, in the meantime, they are holding the $100 bills. Okay. Tag 5104 is saying divide and conquer. That's their formula. Yes. Rising up, Sister Afri Jabo in the house all the way from Ghana. She said, for real, Sister Shanice, not easy. And Tag 5104, how long does it take for genetic variations to occur? Please come back to us on that. Let's get a few more questions in first. Rise Up Ubuntu say, you're back again, Sister Shanice. Yeah, Mama, come back again. She said, you're not easy. You're not easy. Give thanks for this brilliant symposium on our esteemed warrior, Kwame Nkrumah, the leader with a vision. Vudum. Yes, Ubuntu. Thank you for joining me on that live there. The Jamaican John crying at the owls. And he said, they will die off or be absorbed. 5104, how long do we have to wait before they die off? Currently, black life expectancy
now.
65 years. It's like, he's looking at his clock, you know, how long do we have to wait?
I know, right? Like, damn it, I'm just tired of waiting. Well, evolution is, you know, the arc of evolution is seemingly slow because we're looking at it from an incarnate time, being the time that you and I have on this earth. But when you look at it, Amma really is taking care of this in a very quick and efficacious and efficient manner because we were the first people. I mean, they're from the estimates of the first, I think it's, is it Anthropithecus habilis, or I forgot the first, there were 6 transmutations that Dr. Sheikh Job talks about, but we've been here for millions of years. I mean, we're the first. So 500 years, 2,000 years to correct a problem in nature ain't nothing. Now to us, it's a lot because we down here with them. You know, we have to deal with them. But in nature and in the cosmic time, this group will be a blip in the memory of history. There will be a moment where you know, we will look back and look at this species like we looked at any type of terrorist that occupied a country. Because here's the thing, and I've hit the scholars up on this probably about 10 years, 15 years ago. I started collecting the answers to the questions that I'm getting ready to share with you, that of the research that I've done with all of these scholars like Dr. Obadiah Shaka, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and Baba Kaba, and Dr. David Imhotep, Clyde Winters, so on and so forth. There has never been in the history of man where any group of Africans went to another country or continent and killed off the indigenous people and installed a new race and labeled a new race, labeled themselves a new race, created the concept of race, and denied the people that they considered a lower race any rights. It's never happened in history. So we've never engaged in mass genocide. We have never engaged in the weapons of war in lynching. We have never used rape as a form of war, a weapon of war, which is what it is considered as. It's not considered a crime. It's considered a weapon of war. When you look at what there are certain things that Africans don't do. Now, I'm not saying in Africa you ain't got messed up leaders, right? We all know them. We all know some of the black men, the African men might be a little screwed up and a little squirrely. Some of the sisters might be a little screwed up and squirrely, but we ain't effed up like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a level to, there's layers to this kind of thing, right? We're not going to, we don't enslave people in chattel slavery. Our version of slavery was servitude. Like I have helpers, I have maids, I have housekeepers, I have people to do laundry and things of the sort. That ain't slavery, it's a job, right? So my housekeeper, my people, they don't have to wear chains around their neck. They ain't trying, I'm not trying to label them with drapetomania. So why are these slaves running away? They must be mentally ill. We don't do that. We do not do that. And when you understand who we are and understand why we don't do that, it can only be connected to our divinity. We are divine people. We are the definition of divine. And we have iterations of that we express throughout humanity, but we were only one culture around that populated the entire world. Our only mistake truly was our first mistake. We shouldn't have went into that area in the first damn place. We would never have to have dealt with this. You know what I'm saying? We would be sitting on a Sister Shanice show, just sipping some lattes, you know, having some hors d'oeuvres and just talking about good time. You know what I'm saying? But we went into the ice region, and this is what happened to us.
Wow.
But
yeah, and the rest is history, as they say. And the last 6,000 millenniums or so, we have been paying the price of it. And the question you're saying, you know, how old are we as a people? How long have we been around? It was a few shows back that I brought it to the attention of my audience. Some information that I've come across about a secret NASA mission. It was a US and Russia joint initiative where they'd spotted something on the moon. And it was a spacecraft. You've probably heard about it. It's a spacecraft on the moon.
I put it up on my in our Patreon, in our private group. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, think about this. So now this is something that when you're so successfully assimilated and proselytized, you can't believe in your own greatness of your people and what we did. So I understand that. Yeah. But if you go to, I haven't been to Kemet, but I've seen the photos of it. There are glyphs of flying machines, space machines. There are glyphs, right? Now, if you study the Dogon, conversations with Olga Tameli and also Dr. Obadiah Shocker, one of our foremost Dogonic experts alive today. When you master the above, in order to be able to see the Sirius B, in order to be able to see that, you have to learn how to astroplane. You have to learn how to leave your body and be able to see where your physical body is in one location, but you are spiritually in your mind in another location. Now, because there were no such things as ghosts, goblins, and demons, all of that is nightmares from the Amu. We never had nightmares. There's no written history on any walls where Africans had nightmares. The nightmare happened when the Amu came in. That's why we have night terrors, because we're seeing them. We're seeing what they did, what they went through, and how nature tried to kill them. But because we are divine and we mastered as above, so below, wouldn't it make sense that the pharaohs, when they transition, wouldn't it make sense that if Amma is carbon based and black, and whatever Amma is going to create always is going to go through that process of going from the idea of the stillness of the nun, the turbulence of Ptah, and the manifestation of Atum, everything in the universe is black and comes from the black. So wouldn't it make sense that we have always been here? Wouldn't that make sense that we would have a spaceship on the moon with a black face? Wouldn't it make sense that there would be a pyramid on Mars? That it's just not the way the light hit it. Okay, you got to know who you are, fam. If you don't know who you are, then anybody can come along and socially engineer you to make you a thug, a thought, a bitch, a hoe, a baby mama, or baby daddy. Those are socially engineered constructs. I don't know a bitch or a hoe. I don't know a nigga. I don't know a Negro or a coon. I know Amma and black people. Everything else was manufactured and socially engineered. Even if you're too stupid to know that you socially engineered, and the language that you might be using on behalf of yourself or your people, that's part of your social engineering. You will get over it and get out of it, but you don't come here and bring that to first frequency, because there are no thugs and thoughts in Wakanda.
Wow. And, it was said quite recently again that most of us are in a position, I might have been when I was studying your works, saying that we say, that many of our people just don't know and don't know that they don't know.
Absolutely. It's called epistemology in science, right? How do you know what you know?
Yes.
Right? What's that quote? If you tell a lie good enough, the truth becomes unbelievable, right?
Yes.
That's what has happened.
That is what's happening. Let's go over to the chat again, shall we? And
no, not the chat. Oh my God.
Yes, the chat. Come on, audience. What are you saying?
My. What are we gonna do? Captain, not the chat.
Hey. So let's see. We've got Carmen McDonald in the house. Rise up, saying Scandal was created by Shona Rhimes. I think that might have been the program he's looking for.
Scandal, yes, that was it. Scandal, thank you.
And the Jamaican John Cross say, true talk. And Sister V saying Scandal. Was going to say that earlier, but wasn't too sure. And a few more scandals in there. Richard, we brought life to all the lands. Tag 5104. How do we account for the less than 0.001% of genomic variation?
I have no idea. I'm not a geneticist.
Okay,
but here's what I do know. Regardless of what it is, it's going to be black.
And
first means first. You really have to understand what this means. It's like we have been so proselytized successfully that we doubt our own science. We doubt our own logic that we created. Literally, we created all the science, and some of us are walking around really unscientifically. Everything comes from life. So whatever we create the mother goddess. This is also something else that's different in the Ma'athian worldview versus this false white boy in the sky and white boy in the stick worldview. We created the concept of what we refer to in English today as the mother goddess. So watch this science. This is Dr. Clyde Winters. Now, the reason that the woman, the female divine feminine energy, is always on top and runs everything is because our ancestors recognized that one, anything that bleeds dies, right? You kill an animal, it bleeds. If you hit an animal a particular way, it bleeds, it dies. It bleeds out and it dies. The woman does not. She bleeds every month in cycle and in unison and does not die. They then said, you must be Amma in expression, because that was the birth of the mother goddess. The mother goddess, the queen, based on her cycle, created math. So the best mathematician in the world is the divine feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
The divine masculine energy protects the divine feminine energy, but it's the divine feminine energy. It's always what we call the queen bee. The queen bee is always given the direction and always running. In the European society, it's man on man, woman on woman. In the Amu world, they don't like, European men don't like even their own European woman. They subjected, now this goes into what we call the third history, the Dark Ages, Middle Ages. They perfected chattel slavery, torture, rape, and brutality on their own women and their own people. They didn't just come here and experiment. No, they already had their torture-ish together, because the psychopathy of the Amu was kill everything, control everything, and men are on top and women are on the bottom, which is why in that society, that's why Rome collapsed. When you create an LGBTQ community, you stop having babies. You kill the population. It's called autogenocide. You can write that down or look it up. But autogenocide is when a group of people kill themselves off intentionally, and they're complicit to their own death. We are not those people. This is why we have such an issue, if you will, with LGBTQ. It is not the aspect of who you love. We don't care about that. We know that it's about population and evolution, and you're killing the species. So once you start looping with the same children, the same amount of people, eventually those people die off, but there's no one to replace the people that are dying off. And so this is how you go through the transmutations. You know how you go from Australopithecus habilis to Gracile, or Gracile to habilis, from habilis to Homo sapien. It wasn't sapien. Robustus or erectus, and so each of these generations of transmutations is how the species dies off. But if you don't reproduce, if we weren't designed to reproduce, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Their numbers from war that they have waged, from plagues that they have brought onto themselves, nature has been trying to get rid of them. And then homosexuality, they have no way to go. They have nowhere to go but to die. And they're walking dead. So you can understand when you come to this understanding, and I went through this, I'm a minister, and there was a time when I believed in white Jesus. There was a time when I believed in a white boy in the sky. There was a time when I believed in the white boy on the boat, Columbus, right? I was interrupted. My signal was interrupted. This is the work of Dr. Kwanzaa Kunjufu, the 6th grade syndrome or 4th grade syndrome, when a child, a black boy, is introduced to this white world and he loses his identity. You mean that Columbus made me a slave and that's where I come from? All right, well, I don't feel good about that. Who do I pray to? Oh, you pray for this white boy on the stick. Oh, pray for this pray for this white boy in the sky. And even in their Christian ideology, and I had a long conversation, I remember, with Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright. Some of you might know that guy because he's a genius. He's a living God. He was the minister for Barack and Michelle Obama. And I served on his media ministry for 6 months back in like 2002, somewhere 2002, 1, somewhere in that area. maybe '03. When you find out that this was completely fabricated and made up just so they could matter, just so they could have a first story, because Amu, they ain't got a first story, Shanice.
That's right.
They can't say they come from carbon. They are carbon based, but they can't say that they came from the waters of Nun. And then from there, the Ptah breathes life into them, into this atomic Utum manifestation demonstration as the physical. They don't have that story. So you got to make it up. They don't want to be Ma'at. They got to make it up. The 10 Commandments comes from the 42 declarations, right? So they have to insert themselves and make themselves in history because they never had one in the first place. They have no history, they have no language, they have no culture. Every piece of culture that they have came from us. Okay? You see white people, black and white, male and female, wearing braids. What? What? Don't make me cuss on this show. So, you'll see, you see the cultural appropriation that of course we get angry about it, but you have to understand, what else can a dead person do? We're asking too much. We're asking them to be us. Baby, that ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry, fam. All right, I have, Lord, if anybody has tried to find a scientific cohesion where the two of us, that species, second frequency and first frequency, can work together and cohabitate, if anybody has done that homework and research, it would be me. And if anybody wanted to make that work, it would have been me. I'm sorry. I remember the day that I went to my knees and cried because I realized, oh my God, I can't help or save second frequency. They're going to die. And if I don't get out of the way, I'm going to die too. And this is what we have to do as a community, as with all of our scars, all of our wounds. We must come together under one consciousness, one frequency to interrupt their signal, because in the law of thermodynamics that we invented, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be changed, transformed, or transmuted. So we can't kill them off. We can't deny them. We can't ignore it and just hope it'll go away. We have to create a counter signal. That counter signal is the first signal. That counter signal is your divine signal. That when Amma said yes to you, you came forth through your mother and father, but you're here for a reason. There's no such thing as a mistake. You are not a mistake. You are a deliberate, well thought out and deliberate act of Amma. When you know who you are and you start to come to this realization, you understand that if you were second frequency, you would probably do the same thing that they did, because how else are they going to survive? If you look at world history, if you look at these four histories, the first history was us. The second history is the making of the Amu coming out of the caves. The third history is their life in the Dark Ages and Middle Ages, and creating and manifesting and perfecting torture and debauchery and rape and murder and mayhem and poverty and sexually transmitted diseases. Prostitution they invented, pornography they invented. None of this is on the walls of Kemet. And then that third history, that was the third history. The fourth history is when those people landed here on this continent and created what we know as anti-miscegenation. Anti-miscegenation is when they invented white people as a matter of law. Nowhere in world history, in any book, and I will challenge all of you, in any history book, find me a history book where they refer to themselves or each other as white. White is American made. Between 1664 to 1681, anti-miscegenation laws were invented to stop the interbreeding, the mixing, because as dominant people, as the first people, we are the archetype of all humanity. So wherever we lay our genetic seed, it comes out black, whether it's from the male or from the female, but particularly from the male. So when white people were invented, there were 3 laws that brought us to this conversation today, my beloved goddess. Because most people just think of anti-miscegenation as just laws to stop interracial marriages. Nah. It's much more sick and sinister than that. And this is the work and the scholarship of Dr. Jacqueline Battalora. The first law was a person of African descent could not run for office or vote. The second law was that the African could not own guns or gunpowder. This is an attack on the black male, removing the black male, the African king, from power. So he could not feed himself or his family, nor could he protect himself or his family. The third law, the most sinister and diabolical, is that a person of African descent could no longer take any type of legal action against this new designation of humanity called white people. Now, that's where the Casual Killing Act comes in. That's where we end up. Mind you, it took another 100 years to just produce the concept of race. There was no concept of race. It's a false thing. There was no concept of race in America. They had to invent it. During the Enlightenment years, they had to create all of this false social Darwinism. Oh, the white skull is larger than the black skull. And they had to try to make us connected to monkeys and apes. They did everything they could to put themselves on top and put us on the bottom. And they put every law in place, and they used every level of science of their time to do it. This is a psychopathic people. But when you're born into that, you think something's wrong with you. I mean, they even attacked you in their religion. You're born of the son of Ham. You're cursed. How the hell can I be cursed when your bitch ass lost your pigment and lost your language and lost your spiritual system? How can I be cursed and I'm the first chosen by God, by Amma? How the F do you figure that out? But we don't know this, right? So we, you had to be going to church with mommy, we're going to go to church. Hallelujah, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, I just love me some Jesus. Oh, look at my little white boy on the stick. I just love him so. I know he's real. He's coming back. How the hell is the dude coming back? He's late as shit. He messed up everything. We needed dude way back when. What, is he going to come back just for some George Floyd shit? What are you talking about? So this is how crazy we are, man. And I was one of those persons. You hear me, Shanice? I am being honest here. I'm just going to say it. I was a Jesus believer and a Jesus freak. This is why I became a theologian, to figure this out.
There were many of us, so many of us, Reverend Philip, who were just caught up in that false religion. And once we just start looking into history, even, fairly recent history, pre-Roman times, you can see that, even the Mary and Jesus, the white Mary and Jesus, you can see, was Osset and Heru. Oh, no, Osset and Horus, the black mother and child. And then prior to that as well, just after that, they had the black Madonna for thousands of years. You had the black Madonna. It was always the woman and the child. And these people come in and they come with
But in the Amu's world, the mother goddess became a ghost.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Father, Son, and Holy Doppy. That's what we said.
So now watch this. Again, in their society,
Trinity.
Father and Son is an ancestral relationship.
2 men. Yeah, 2 men again. What happened to the woman? What happened to the goddess?
I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I don't know if you see what I'm saying. But I can see it. I think Stevie Wonder can see it. Come on, man.
Once your eyes are open, you see it.
Absolutely.
And And as you know, Professor Small shows us as well from the works that he's done in Kemet, on the walls of Kemet. Half of the stories, most of the stories are there on the walls of Kemet, the stories that are in the Bible. You know, you can see where they've got the creation story, the Potter's Wheel story, all these stories are just coming from the walls of Kemet. As you say, they had to write themselves into history because they came out the caves with no history, no culture, no language, no nothing. And they had to write themselves into history. So what do? They plagiarize our history. And you know, there's so much to be said about all of that. But let's see what they're saying in the chat. Let's scroll back.
Oh no, not the chat. Hey. Not again. Oh.
Oh, wonderful. Just let's hear from you. Rise up, Sister Verna from Time to Succeed, who's watching from London. Great to have you in the house. Itana, rise up yourself. You know Itana. She's the one who reached out to you and has been assisting me in putting my programs.
Oh, yes. Hi.
And Sister Verna from Time to Succeed says, looking forward to your show this evening with Reverend Dr. Shock Matthew as well. Let us know how you feeling our show so far. Rise up Richmond in the house, saying peace family. Rise up Afrijamo, watching us from Ghana. Kimani, great to have you in the house, rising us all up. Lily, rise up yourself. You've all been in quite early. Wonderful, wonderful. Lola from Paris in France, great to have you in the house as well. They have enough jokes between each other there. First time saying greetings from Chicago, USA. Give thanks to the Most High, creator of all, the creation, the judge, the jury, the only one worthy, worshiping her. Rise up, first time, welcome. Sister V, rise up yourself, saying greetings all. Talk about carbon. Are they not researching carbon? Research is being done on carbon. I'm sure I've heard that is to be the case. Wouldn't surprise me. Yes, they've been trying to work out, you know, our makeup and who we are and our essence, you know, from they have had charge of the sciences, etc. Rise up first time, rise up. Hey, we've got Mundele in the house saying Yenga Mpimpa Kiambote. Lisusu, Sister Shanice, my type show. Kikoto, Masaki, what's that? Makasi, most enlightening. Matondo, yes, thank you so much. Is that Kiswahili? What language is that? Please remind me what language that is. Then tag saying Tenda Mwari. All right, so let's see if we've got any questions or points in here. Afujama, when they cry, especially Karen, we feel sorry for them because we have compassion, don't we just? And they have none at all. When we think of the genocide, when we think of the murders, when we think of over 100 million Africans, you know, that were transported around the world during enslavement, the Americans that were wiped off the face of the earth, the Australians, the indigenous people of Australia, the indigenous people of New Zealand. Oh my gosh, it just goes on and on. It shows there's no compassion whatsoever. They are a different species, well, in my opinion. They are a different species without a soul, no humanity whatsoever. In fact, you know, when you think about the fact that we've been around at least 1.5 billion years, I think it might have been us and the sciences that we had at that time that iced them in. We corralled them, I think. I think at some point there's going to be proof that we corralled them. We got them all together, we put them in the Caucasus Mountain and we froze them over for tens of thousands of years. And unfortunately during our lifetime,
they were the original Africans though. And so, but over 100,000, 300 years of ice, 100,000, 300 years. That's 45,000 generations of devolvement. So it happens slowly over time, just like it is right now. Like when we were going to get rid of them. Well, it took them a long time, but it was the last 5,000 years. If you look at Dr. David Imhotep's book, I have it somewhere, The First Americans Were Africans. Yes. If you look at the understanding, it was the last 5,000 years that was the coldest and most brutal, that forged the highest level of psychopathy in them living in the caves.
Mm-hmm.
When you're turned inside out, you and you start to lose, like each generation, even our generation, like us, our kids don't know what we know, right? Our kids know they, and so every generation, in one sense, you get dumber, right? If you don't know your history and it's not passed on, every generation, you get dumber and dumber, you get more ignorant. Well, what happens when you're in a situation where you're enclosed in an environment where you have to inbreed, which creates a whole nother level of mutation? What happens when you are in a situation where you are devolving? Each generation is getting dumber and dumber. Each generation is getting slower and slower. And we see some of them today and how they talk and how they act. You can't self-regulate yourself. If I ask you, excuse me, are you mentally retarded or unstable or disabled? You can't tell you. What are you going to say? No, because you can't self-diagnose yourself. Because if you are sick and your mother is sick, your father is sick, your wife is sick, your kids are sick, your grandparents are sick, your teachers are sick, the guy who does the food is sick. If everybody around you is sick,
sick is normal.
You look healthy and normal, don't you? You can't differentiate.
That's right.
Our problem right now is the same problem we had. We're trying to see them like we see ourselves. In decision theory, in the science of decision theory, there are 175 cognitive biases or critical thinking errors. One of those critical thinking errors is known as the desirability effect bias. The desirability effect bias is when you think everyone sees the world as you see it. That ain't the case. So you make the assumption that everybody's sees everything the way you see it through your eyes. But that's why we're not sick people, but we look sick. We are suffering from what Du Bois refers to as double consciousness. I call it the trauma response of double consciousness equals mental illness in the African diaspora, because there is no place else and no other level of history where when you're around these people, you must act differently. You must code switch. You must have a double consciousness for your safety. That's not normal, Shanice. That's not normal. That's not natural. Mental illness is that's mental illness, not mental health.
Psychopathic behavior. Yeah. 1 minute you're one personality and one person, and another minute you're having to be something else. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's not natural.
I
that's not
suffered
normal.
that during my working years, you know.
Yes.
Having to go into the office and be one way and
yes.
come home.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. 100%. And that's the problem, is that when do you have a chance to decompress? When do you have a chance? Because if you do it over and over again so long, and you get so good at it, because we're melanin and everything we do, we get good at, you get lost. You get lost in your own translation. You get lost in your own matrix, in your own holodeck. And you start saying, well, you know, that white Jesus ain't that bad. You know, you start justifying, right? You know, because you get lost in your in this false story and false narrative, because you're trying to just live a daily life without trauma. And so we think if we can't beat them, join them. The body is designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. If I'm seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, I don't want to be around these black people. I don't want to be black. I don't want to be African. I want to be American. I don't want to be foundational black British. I just want to be a British. I just want to be, basically, I just want to be left alone, right? But I can't be left alone because whiteness keeps intruding upon my life. So at some point, I moved from pre-disturbance to disturbance. And now I can't go back. And that's what you and I are. We are at a point where we can't go back to being unaware. Once the mind has been expanded, it can no longer retract and go back to the way it used to be. So we can't any longer live the lives that we were living based on ignorance and compliance.
Ashe, ashe. Yes, so much I could say, but let me just go again over to the chat. Love to bring in our audience. Love to bring you in. Okay, let me just go right to the bottom and see some of the comments that we've got down here. Right, we have presumed a humanity in them that does not exist. And how can that humanity exist when they have committed the atrocities they've committed against black/brown people?
Facts. All day facts. That's right. See, that's a scientific mind that said that. That person is a cause and effect. It's just common sense. Even Dr. Phil, the white psychologist, even he says the best prediction or predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Just look at their history. Just look at their history. Now, you might fall in love with some of these people and have babies with some of these people, but I ain't messing with you. Because whatever triggers, whatever that cell, just like we have a cell, a memory chip called Ma'at that's in us, that's the true M chip. That's the true M1 chip, the melanin chip. Because we have that melanin chip, they got a chip too that once it's triggered, they'll remember who they are. Do you think they're going to, which side do you think they're going to be on?
Right. Exactly. They know, like someone said in the chat, they're like a dying tiger. Yes, scratching and trying to hold on. So
they're dangerous people. They're very dangerous. They're the original terrorists.
Wow.
That's what we don't care about ISIS. Black people are not afraid of ISIS. We don't give a damn about ISIS. We give a damn about the ice. It's not ISIS, it's the ice. That's our first terrorism. We don't give a damn about ISIS kill white people. We don't give it, help us out. But we don't, we are dealing with you white people, whiteness, ICE people. We don't give a damn about terrorists. You're the original terrorists. Lynching, we didn't invent lynching. We didn't invent chattel slavery. We didn't create anti-miscegenation. You are our terrorists. That's why we don't like you, punk ass. Pardon my French.
So, family in the chat, let's go back. I just love to bring you in. So, let me flick over to the other screen. Right. So, okay. Sorry, the screen's just flicked all the way down to the bottom again. Let's go in the middle somewhere and bring in some of those middle comments. Oh yes, so those are the ones about the scandal. Let's scroll down some more. Divide and conquer. Yes, we were hearing about that. Let's scroll down some more. Beautifully put, Dr. Matthew. Someone agreeing to something you said there was beautifully put. And someone first time is saying, wow, is that Western Russia? Oh, is that the Western Russia working together? Ukraine-Russian war? Am I missing something? Someone's saying the oppressor's judgment of spiritual accountabilities for their oppressive actions, regardless of faith. Yeah, that's true. Regardless of faith, they are committing the worst crimes against humanity. Agree with you on that first time. Richmond says knows when to kill off and clean itself when it's needed. That must be nature. The Jamaican Junker say yes. They are a dying tiger. That's the one I saw. But the dying tiger is the most dangerous animal in the jungle. They know that they are dying and want to take as many of us with them on their journey towards death. What a wicked thing. Rise up, Mr. Wilfred, in the house saying I'm getting feedback. My apologies for the feedback. I've turned my mic down a bit. I think it was coming from my end. So Gebra, rise up, Gebra, saying blessings. Oh no, this is bombastic. Give thanks. We give thanks to you in the house. Wilfred is saying they have no spirituality, therefore they stole African spirituality. Them thief everything, Wilfred, not just African spirituality. Them thief everything. And what them couldn't thief, them kill and destroy. Blue Zodiac says, seeing Charles easier said than done. Gebra, all our people need to hear this. Break it down. Knowledge is power. Power. Knowledge is God. Wilfred is saying, yeah, and it's now backfiring on them. That's another conversation going on there. Wilfred's also saying that they are the cursed ones. Just look at their wicked, evil behavior. True to that. John Cross said, them are some dirty man. Preach on, Kingsman. They're saying, Jojo's saying, preach on. So yeah, let's allow you to preach on. Please, preach on.
Thank you. Thank you, chat. So my beloved, well, do you have a question? I mean, I don't want to filibuster and run the show. I have a tendency to do that as a scholar. I just start running.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's fine. Let me go through. So, we've been learning so much about the different frequencies. First frequency, second frequency. You went into the third frequency, the dark ages and making of the white people. We've got 4 frequencies, the first, second, and third frequencies. Maybe just recap a little on that for those who may have joined us a little late, because, this is a whole school of thought and whole body of, a whole language for us to absorb this first, second, third, fourth frequency. And then we haven't really even touched on the traumas.
No, we haven't. I forgot about that.
So,
yeah. So the 4 histories, 4 frequencies, and 4 traumas. It's a theosophical framework, a theoretical framework based in social science, Africana phenomenology, and Afrocentricity. Theosophy is a trilogy combination of religion, science, and philosophy. That's theosophy, right? So we are all 3 of those things. So we're theosophical, not just theological, right? But it's based in social science, how people move. And so there's anthropology in there, there's archaeology in there, there's linguistics, there's the science, the evolutionary science of memetics, there's axiology, there's quantum mechanics, psychology, neurobiology. Dr. Edwin Nichols, when he came on my show, he said philosophy is the highest of all sciences, and every other science comes after philosophy. So I just started taking all of these interviews that I've amassed over the last 35 years and putting them into the sequence of its correct discipline, and ended up Amma and the ancestors one night gave me this concept of 4 frequencies, 4 traumas, and subsequently later on the 4 histories. And so the first frequency is us. The second frequency is when they went into the ice and came out Amu, the making of the Amu. The third frequency is when the African, particularly on this continent, is intersected with the colonization and ideology of the white boy in the boat, the white boy in the stick, and the white boy in the sky. Third frequency creates the coon or the Negro, right? Because we never refer to ourselves as coons or Negroes. This was a socially engineered, socially manufactured group that had to survive slavery, had to survive Jim Crow, and had to survive civil rights. And so the one who said, well, if I can't beat them, I'll join them, they became the assimilated and domesticated, and the well-colonized. They became not African-American, they just became American. And if we understand the history of America, because America was created by and installed and invented by white people, when you are in alignment with your assimilation, you are what Du Bois refers to as someone who is suffering from a double consciousness. So anybody that you see in entertainment, anybody who is a multimillionaire that is receiving their millionaireship from a second frequency institution or check is compromised. That would be third frequency. But there was a rebellion class within the African community. The rebellions, the ones who rebelled, said, I don't want to be a sellout. I don't want to be a coon. But I don't know who I am, so I'm just going to be a real nigga. out here in these streets. I'm going to be that bitch. I'm going to be that hoe. I'm going to be that thug. I'm going to be that thought. And that's fourth frequency. And so the intersection of that signal interruption, because we don't know how to go back home in terms of the prodigal son, we don't know first frequency. So we're trying to solve a second frequency problem with a third and fourth frequency mindset. And you cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem. So this is why we're not able to get out, quote unquote, Jordan Peele. We got to get out. We can't get out because we're trying to solve a problem in a false identity. How can I solve the problem of not knowing who I am when I don't know who I am? Somebody made me a nigger. Some Christianity called me and made me a nigger, right? That's you can't have anti-miscegenation, whiteness, white supremacy without Christianity. They're one and the same. Christianity is what gave them permission to rape me, my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my children. So how can I solve a problem in the false racial identity or construct that you have placed on me? I am not a Negro. I am not a nigger. I am a God having a Negro and nigger experience. I am a spiritual being having this experience. But if I don't know how to separate myself from that, then I'm going to act up and act out. Right? So the thug and the thug, the thought, the bitch, the hoe, the N-word, the fourth frequency is out here killing their own, wreaking havoc on their own society, but they're socially engineered, they're manufactured. Nothing's wrong with those Black people, something happened to them. And then the ones who say, I'm going to get educated and assimilated, and I'm gonna go to church and I'm gonna believe in white Jesus. I'm gonna be so American, I ain't gonna even believe in Black Jesus, because we know there's no Jesus, but nonetheless, I'm gonna believe in white Jesus because I know white Jesus is my savior. All right. So when you buy into that psychopathy, it always has to manifest and show up. That's why Will Smith is out here slapping people now. Right? Successfully assimilated people, you don't get out of trauma alive. Trauma has to come out. And what you saw that night, that was trauma. When you see our coons and third frequency double consciousness people acting up and acting out, when you see Whoopi Goldberg saying, I don't want to be Karen Johnson, because Karen Johnson is a nigger, is a hoe, is a nothing. I'm going to be Whoopi Goldberg. And then she got reminded, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're really Karen Johnson. You really are Karen Johnson. I just want you to know. Right? Nick Cannon. Oh, sure, I got all this money. I'm making 50 million on this and 50 million on that. Shoot, look at me. I'm turning it. Oh, shit. They just canceled my damn show. How did they do that? Because you don't own your, so this is what happens. No shade to our people. Something's happened to them. Something's happening to them right now as we're talking, right? If we don't know the original, and I've heard some of our people say, I ain't a hotep, I'm about that Christ life. I'm about that Christ life, son. You know, thugs out on the streets, they have believed in this white Jesus and this white ideology and they've been so successfully proselytized for so long, generationally, that some of us are just not going to make it out, and they look just like you and I. And so what happens to those people? Well, just as the people of the ice was frozen in time, everything they touch freezes in their time, including us. And so our third and fourth frequency people are frozen in time. There's a song by U2 called Stuck in a Moment. You just got stuck in a moment. You are frozen in their time, because when they stole us, they also stole our sense of time and that signal interruption of who we are as first frequency people. So our way back home, the way to restore ourselves, the way to cleanse ourselves, the way to give us a spiritual bypass, a way to give us the ability to clean the arteries of our trauma, the stored, calcified trauma that has built up in our veins and in our arteries. How do we get rid of that? We get rid of that by going back home to our original signal. We don't have to get on a bus, a plane, a train, or a bike. We don't have to go on the internet. We don't have to go to the bathroom. We don't have to go anywhere in our house. We can just stand where we are. Close our eyes. Our eyes is what Reverend Billy Bird refers to as our black room. Right? When you close your eyes, you're back in the waters of none. When you close your eyes, you are back in your mother's womb, which is the physical manifestation of the waters of none. We have been taught to be afraid of the dark. We've been taught to be afraid of ourselves. We have mastered everything and we fear nothing because we mastered all science. But here's the thing, beloved goddess Shanice. Now we've mastered trauma because we didn't have that imprint before. There was nothing in our history for millions of years where we had trauma like that. But now we have that genetic memory. It's known as epigenetics. We now have the memory of our trauma. Honey, buddy, we ain't doing this again. Oh, hell to the no. This is it. This is it. You got your ticket. You better put it up there and frame it because this is a one-way ticket. Ain't no Amu coming back here again. We ain't making that mistake again. I wish an Amu would come up talking about, I can't read and write. You better call Tyrone because I ain't helping your ass out. You better get your ass on somewhere. Okay, I stink. Can you help me and bathe me and show me how to use alcohol? No, but here's some Hennessy and some Jack Daniels. Go drink yourself to death. Okay, just go ahead and we're not doing it again, Shanice, because now we have the. I know I'm crazy and retarded. I was dropped repeatedly and intentionally as a child. But the thing is this: when I look at what we are, and I look at the science of genetic memory, now we have the memory installed of trauma. We don't want the body again rejects pain and seeks pleasure. Well, we know that this group ain't nothing but pain. Nothing but pain. Even when you assimilate with them, ask Kanye, how is it working out for you, Kanye? How is it working out that you're assimilated with these people? Right? How is that handled? Hey, Nick, you got a mixed chick, Mariah Carey. How did that work out for you? Why aren't you guys able to maintain relationships? Why when we're intersected and socially engineered as nothing as niggas on the streets, thugs and thoughts, that Jada Pinkett had to become a drug dealer and a sex addict? Where did that come from? What was the social engineering that made a Jada Pinkett? What was the social engineering that made a Will Smith? And then after all of that, you come together, you procreate, you make two beautiful children, and then you say, well, we have an open marriage. How the can a goddamn marriage be open? It's called a marriage, you dumb sons of, you know what's this? This is psychopathy. Nothing that we do with them turns out right. One of the greatest documentaries that's on air right now, me and my queen binged on it over the weekend. It's called Everything's Gonna Be All White. And it's on Amazon, it's on Showtime and Amazon Prime. And it's a 4-part series of the history of what whiteness has done to America. Brother Sasha, I can't think of Sasha's last name, but Brother Sasha directed and did the documentary. Unbelievably accurate, unbelievable work. I recommend it for everybody. But fam, ain't nothing wrong with you. There's a lot of ish that is happening to you. And how can you be responsible for your crime when you were placed and forcefully placed in an environment that was socially engineered to make the worst of you come out? How can you be responsible for that? You can't. But you are accountable the moment you hear the truth. Now you're accountable. Are you going to stay complicit to your own death? Are you going to participate in your auto-genocide just as the Amu is. Are you going to say that I don't want my own bike? I'm going to stay on Joey's handlebars and I'm going to go where Joey goes because Joey got the money, right? That's fine. Look at what happened to all the people with the money. Michael Jackson, Prince, Natalie Cole, go for it. Do the math, figure it out. Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. Why is it that we, no matter what, James Brown, no matter what we do, no matter how good we are, in their world, we come out dirty, no matter what. So you go ahead and chase that money, you chase that bag. I am going to create my own bag and my own money with my own people, which is what I've already done. So disruptive economics. There's 3 billion Black people with cell phones that I, in my research, with 3 billion Black people would do, and I have a skill set of pay-per-click and Facebook advertising. And I know how to target, and I can target anybody's cell phone anywhere in the world. And I'm gonna teach it to everybody who wants to know, we gonna be all right, because we already are.
Please do tell us about your Black economics program so that those who might be interested in finding out how to tap into the millions of Africans around the world with cell phones to market their products to can do so.
Wow. I just completed 8-week mini clinic with Brother Andrew Muhammad, and we had 85 plus people on that, where I taught every aspect of how to control your mind, how to manipulate matter, how to manipulate money, how to freeze their signal, interrupt their signal, how to cleanse your self so that you naturally attract money, because we're naturally attract money and wealth because that's what created us. Poverty is white man made. There's no such thing as poverty. There's no such thing as lack and limitation in nature. There's only death and rebirth. And really, there's no death, there's only rebirth, right? So there's no poverty, there's no lack of, so that's a European created concept that we got trapped into and learned how to be really good at being poor. So when you learn, like I said, there's only 2 fears that we come here with, the fear of falling and the fear of a loud sound. Everything else is learned behavior. So we've learned how to financially struggle. We've learned and been conditioned and socially engineered to be poor. We've learned and been socially engineered to live paycheck to paycheck. We've learned that there's not a lot of us, that we're minority, even though we run and own the damn world, and we're the largest population in world history since forever. We then start to get lost in our own economic holodeck. And it makes it almost impossible for some of us to get out, because we're gods projecting this lie that has been told to us. And so now we're complicit in our own. It's like, have you ever been in your boudoir bathroom and you have a mirror in there, and maybe on the mirror, there might be a side mirror. And have you ever put 2 mirrors in front of each other and you see how those mirrors go into infinity with the same image? Have you ever seen that? Or maybe on your show on your phone, when you share your screen and it just goes into all of these different, you start to see yourself replicated and duplicated in those mirrors, which are illusions, into infinity. That's what's happening to us right now. We're caught in our own holodeck and illusion because we don't know how to get home. We don't know the signal. We don't know the GPS. We don't know the frequency. Once we know the GPS and frequency, boom, we immediately, the DNA knows exactly what God's DNA, Alma's DNA knows exactly what to do. But we are sitting up running around behind Amazon, behind Costco, guilty as charged, and all of these other white institutions looking for our bag, looking for our money, when it's always and has been in our community. That's part of the signal interruption. So our job is at First Frequency of Oneness. You can go to walkawaywealthsystems.com, download the free special report, learn this. You can go to Amazon and pick up a copy. of digitalnomics. I've learned, in order for me to do this, where I was just with Dr. Winters this morning, and we were talking, he says, he says, you're really, really smart because I was talking about how I have over 1,000 Kindles. I think I got about 1,200 Kindles in my Kindle. And then I don't know how many other thousands of books. In order to be able to fund my hobby of loving my people, I had to figure out how to create income without having to leave the house to do it. And I couldn't get a job because if I do, and the work that I do, I'd lose my job because they would go on social media, see Rev Shock saying, hey, white people ain't ish, and then they lose your job. And but now because I own my own, and I teach this process to others, and I think every child needs to understand and learn disruptive economics. Write it down, disruptive economics. Some of you are into Bitcoin, that's disruptive. I'm into internet marketing, social media marketing, affiliate marketing, how to make money on a laptop, how to make hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars a year and never leave your house to do it within a pool of 3 billion people. I don't even need to get to 3 billion. I just need to get to 1%. So this is what they do. They shrink you, they isolate you and make you think you ain't ish, make you think that you're small, make you think that you're helpless. And it's called learned helplessness for a reason. You've learned how to be helpless. You ain't helpless. Get up and be the Amma that you are. I don't give a damn if you ain't got a job. I don't give a damn if you strung out on drugs, crack, or alcoholism. I don't give a damn if you're a rapist or a murderer. In the axiology of the situation, if you were in a natural environment, you would act naturally, but you ain't in a natural environment. So it's natural that you would act unnaturally.
Yes.
Be the God, walk this earth as an Amma. That's who you are. Don't let nobody tell you different. This species is dying off. Don't go with the dead, go with the flow. What you know.
Ashe. Oh my goodness gracious me. Well, family, just a few more comments from the chat, and then, we will have to be bringing this show to a close. It's been almost 2 hours already, 10 minutes away from 2 hours. It's just absolutely flown by. And, please do let the listeners, let the viewers know how they can get on your next program, when it is, or what website they should go to for your economics program. And while you're getting that information together, let's see what we got in the chat going on. Afrojama, how they fooled us for centuries, no more. They have recessive genes, they are disappearing and want to take us with them. They are trying to do that currently via the jab trust. Hey,
yes.
Mr. Wilkins said yes, they came out of the caves on all fours walking. Yes, they did. We got a rise up from New York City. Rise up, Roger. Good to know New York's in the house. Shocking us with
New
knowledge.
York is always in the house.
That's a good one. Roger says you're shocking us with knowledge. Yes, Rev Shock. Shocking us with knowledge. I like that one. Blue Zodiac, that's why they created the guns, to turn you and I into ghosts. Yes.
I like that. But guess what? Watch this history. Watch this now. This is going crazy. This is crazy. Cray. We invented guns. We were the first to invent guns. They invented the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun is what defeated us, not the guns and gunpowder. We invented all of that. But we're civilized, so we're not going to kill each other, take over countries, and we're not going to do it. We be at war and tribalism and what have you, but we don't do what they do. So they had to create a gun that shot multiple bullets in a very fast and immediate way. That was their advantage, and that was their edge. After they used the divide and conquer strategy, that Gatling gun is what got us. But I didn't notice it. But Dr. Winters gave us the evidence and research. Yeah, we invented guns and gunpowder, but not for mass destruction. They do it for mass destruction.
Everything and anything they get hold of, they turn it into a weapon.
They militarize it. They militarize it and weaponize it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Everything.
That's why, you
and,
know.
and I'm gonna tell you something else, family. If y'all out there, if some of y'all are still out there, Jesus freaks, if Jesus does come back, he gonna be shot dead. He is gonna be killed so quick that you will not even be able to know, was that Jesus out there? I don't know if that was Jesus.
Who's going to do the killing?
They just gunned his ass down. They put a bomb, a drone strike on Jesus, because Jesus would represent the fall of their world. Do you think they're going to allow that to happen? If some physical entity is coming back, ladies and gentlemen, let's use our minds. This is about consciousness. This fight is an air game, not a ground game. This game is about consciousness and frequency. You defeat frequency with frequency by signal interruption. That's how you do. You don't tell them, hey, I'm coming over. I got guns. I'm coming over to shoot you. You ain't getting out the damn house. Some of you are so stupid. Not the people that watch this show, of course, but some I've seen people on social media. They got their guns out on the showing their house and the social security number, damn near their driver's license. Well, I know where you live. I'm gonna kill you first because you just showed me what you have. You've shown me your intentions. So you don't. My mama used to tell me, you don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Right? So you shut up and let Amma do what Amma is doing, because if you understand this, you ain't got to do nothing but get out of the way. Let Amma handle them. And she is. She's allowing them to kill each other, Ukraine, Russia thing, and the diseases and the viruses that they manufacture backfires and kills them first. There was no COVID in Africa.
That's right.
Especially in the inland, it was coastal. Right. Coastal is where the money is. That's where the white people are, in the boats and the ships and the cruises and all of that. But the problem is we've got to work for them. That's how we got it. The same with AIDS and every other disease, syphilis, everything. We end up being subservient to them. We mate with them. And let me just be real with you for a moment, Goddess Shanice. As the mother goddess, as the creator of humanity, when you allow a man to put his seed into you, whatever that man is, you give birth to. So if that man has trauma, you just gave birth to his trauma. If you allow this second frequency man to seed you, you are giving birth to death and destruction of your people, because that's all they represent. You might call it love, but that's why they say love is dumb and stupid. But I don't agree with that. Love is ma'at. Ma'at is not dumb or stupid. Now, you could be ignorant as hell, which is what you are, some of you, and choose to say, oh, I don't believe in racism. I believe all people are equal, made and God loves all of his children, and we're all good people. And nope, that's not true. Sorry. Sorry. I love the narrative. Yep, it's great, but nah. Sorry, son. It ain't like that, fam. So you got to do what you got to do. But if you are in alignment with these people, you're going to die. It's just that simple. You're going to die, and you're going to die prematurely, and it's not going to be a good death. It's not going to be a honorable death. And I tell the kids this all the time in the drug world and what have you. Don't die dumb. Don't die dumb. You're doing dumb stuff and you're dying for no reason. Find your first frequency. Connect with that first frequency. The people, even the people in Africa on the continent, they don't know their first frequency either. But because they're connected to the motherland, they get the benefits of that motherland. They get the benefits of eating those fruits and vegetables and from the actual soil of Kemet, if you will. And that's why there was no disease. Because think about it. If we're hundreds of thousands or millions of years of age, do you think that was the first virus that we ever dealt with? Don't you think we mastered that too?
We did. Oh
Come
yeah.
on, it was just common sense, fam. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they making this thing up. Oh, it's brand new. No, it's not.
No,
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 it's not.
no.
No, it's not. But this is what we're dealing with. This is why you're so important to us, Goddess Shanice, because we need you. We need your show. We need your energy. We need your intelligence. Because it takes an intelligent, highly intelligent person to do what you do. Because it's not just the fact that you do a show, it's the type of show. It's how you choose your scholars and why. It's why you choose the content and why. That's the sign that you're first frequency, because you're the highest of intelligence, because that's what you attract. You don't attract what you want in life, you attract what you are in life.
Mm. Wow,
And
wow, wow.
you are divinity in expression.
Wow, wow, wow. Family, family, let's all start attracting what we are in life. That was such a, this was such an amazing conversation with you, Reverend Philip Shock. I tell you, I have learned so much about first, second, and third frequency that I didn't know about before.
I'll come back and we'll do the traumas. How about that?
That would be awesome. Yeah, because that is some deep learning. We have been through some trauma as a people, trauma, pantapa, trauma, I mean, when you can't even say trauma in English, you have to say in Patwa, trauma, pantapa, trauma, was what we have been through as a people, continue to go through. First of all, we need to recognize the trauma that we're suffering and how it's racialized, etc. And also, how we deal with it and how we get ourselves out of it. Yes, indeed. We would be honored to have you back again. That would be a privilege. And you know what? They've been blazing you up in the chat. Enough credit to you. You'll get it in the chat. Thank you to all of our viewers, everybody watching. Thank you so much for staying with us throughout the evening. We've enjoyed your comments and your interaction. And still many more comments and contributions coming in. But, we have to let our Reverend go now. So rise up, rise up. Enough love and respect to each and every one of you. Please do share the video, share the learning with your family and friends. As I said, this is a whole new vocabulary for me. Wow, 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 a whole new vocabulary. And I'm going to have to watch this over a couple of times so that I can start using, some of this language as well about the first frequency, where the first frequency, them and the second frequency. And, hey, we're going to have to start.
Back in the 70s, we should say, baby, what's your sign? Now in the new world, we're like, baby, what's your frequency?
Yeah. Are you first frequency or third frequency?
Yeah.
Or third or fourth frequency? What frequency you want? It's so important. Yeah, for real. So thank you, family. Thank you. And for Mr. Hillary, much respect. He's saying to the Sister Shanice show, as always, fantastic conversations and huge big ups to Dr. Matthews. Always watch you both here in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Oh, wow. Rise up. And first time with the closing remarks saying, may the Most High Creator of all creation rise up.
Wonderful,
yes,
wonderful.
We are the creation of the Creator. Look in the mirror and you will see the works of the Creator and the Creator who made you in his or her image. So rise up, family. Dr. and Reverend Shock, it's been a privilege. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Sister Etana,
thank you, Goddess.
Yourself for reaching out.
Love you, fam.
Take care. One love.
Hotep.
More love, more power, more voodoo. Sister Shanice out of here for now. We'll see you tomorrow. We have day 6, the final day, family, of our Kwame Nkrumah series. And we are going to be invoking the spirit of Kwame Nkrumah. Please make sure you join us for that event. Rise up, family. One love. Tomorrow, see you tomorrow. What time is it tomorrow? I think it's about 5 p.m. UK time. So tune in early. All righty. One love, family.